What's up, guys? Welcome back to the PL pod right here on Daniel Talks Football on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back. It's been an awful long time. I can't tell you the last time I uploaded, but it must have been 4-5 months ago potentially now. It's great to be back and I hope you haven't missed me too much. We're going to get into all of that, where I've been, why I've been gone, and my thoughts on the biggest football talking points since I have been gone in this podcast. I've got a great guest on the line with me tonight who we will get into in a little bit, but it's great to be back at the end of the day. I did want to come back and do a podcast. Podcasts won't be too frequent on the channel from now on. It will be more short form and, sort of those videos ranging between that, 10 to 20 minute mark is what I'm going to be aiming for on the channel. However, I did want to come back with a long form podcast just to simply catch you all up on everything. It's been a crazy year really so far for me, which I haven't really had a chance to catch this channel up on, both in the football world and in my personal life. So I did just want to come back and do a proper podcast, catch everyone up, and then we can be back with consistent content. I can officially say that consistent content will be back on the channel, and I'm very happy to say that, but we'll get into all of that in a little bit. Before we do get into that, I need to introduce the guest I have on the line tonight. Now, this is a very special guest for me. This man has been on the podcast before, and I'm sure you will recognise the lovely Kiwi tones coming out of our special guest for tonight. However, Liam is a top lad. He's currently used to run Arsenal Fan Nation, the Instagram account which had about 50,000 followers, supporting his beloved Arsenal FC, who we will get onto later, and their attempts at lifting a trophy, which, Leicester did and they didn't. Does that make us a better side than them? No, it doesn't. We're going to finish bottom. But it's great to have you back, Liam. How are you, mate?
I'm great, mate. And to answer your question, Leicester have won the title, and so I guess the other bit aside, Danny Simpson. Danny Simpson? Is that his name?
What? Back from 15-16?
The right back.
Yeah, 15-16, Danny Simpson.
Danny Simpson. Yeah, I'd take him over Ben White any day. He's quality. Brilliant footballer.
I couldn't tell you what he did afterwards. I think he went to QPR or something, or
he's one of those
Bristol
players that literally, his career just completely disappeared straight after that season.
He wasn't a Premier League winning footballer. He was a He was a bottom end Premier League, top end Championship footballer.
I've got to correct you there. He actually was a Premier League winning footballer. Somehow.
Well, yeah, I know, but bar a few players, I can look at the wall now and I can see Richie Delat and Matty James and Gokkenindler, and I'm a bit like, you lot came in for a relegation battle and won the league, but I cannot complain.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you, mate? It's been a while. You have changed what you're doing in terms of content, so would you like to tell the listeners what you're currently doing?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. At the start of the year,
Here we go.
I was working at a supermarket. Real standard university job. I'm in my final year now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was keen to apply for a coaching job. Doing some coaching for football.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Coach from under 19, under 12 team. It'd be a good laugh. I know a bit about football, obviously. So,
Just a bit.
but then, yeah, just a little bit. So I applied for a job just by sending an email to the local club, who are pretty well financially backed, actually.
Okay.
And I essentially ended up getting offered the marketing manager role there just because of kind of the work I've done with Arsenal Fan Nation and social media before then. And it's been really fun. So you can see what I'm up to on Instagram at Christchurch United FC, or on Facebook if you search up the same thing. It's just a bit of content here and there. Well, not here and there. We're posting every day, obviously, but a lot of my role is not just social media. I'm updating their website, sending out emails, things like that. So, but it's really enjoyable. It's a bit of a professional experience almost. It's kind of what I want to get into in the future. So yeah, hopefully in 10 years time I'm doing the same thing, but it's for It's at the Emirates, you know.
Well, I mean, we're going to get onto my sort of aspirations in terms of that in a little bit, because there is an update in what I want to do, and it's more or less what you're currently progressing with. But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that it's going well for you, mate. And as Liam said, Christchurch FC on Instagram and Facebook, go check it out. The content is incredible, and it's expanding football knowledge at the end of the day, because for those who can't tell from the dulcet tones, Liam is certainly not from the UK, which is where the main section of my fan base is. It is a local New Zealand side, Christchurch FC. So be sure to sort of go and check it out, because it would expand football knowledge. Because I'm going to be honest, I couldn't tell you a thing about football in New Zealand. It's not one of my fortes. I could do a little bit of Australia. I know Usain Bolt played. Was it Usain Bolt? It was Usain Bolt. He played for like 3 games, didn't he?
I completely forgot that happened, but yes.
For
he went to Central Coast Mariners.
Central Coast Mariners, that was it, yeah. So I can do a little bit of Australia, New Zealand, not quite so much. So yeah, go check it out and show some support, and we would both very much appreciate that. Anyway, let's get into some. I've got to get through a load of talking here, so we'll get on with it. First of all, before we do get into that, we are both currently watching the Scotland versus Hungary game on the side. I do want to mention Barnabas Varga, I think it's called. We have seen him go off with a horrid injury. We're not quite sure what it is at this moment in time, but for those who are listening at home, I'm sure you will have more idea of what's going on by the point that this is released. So I just want to wish my full best to Barnabas Varga. It looked really serious as he was sort of getting taken off the field. So my best to Varga. Anyway, let's get on with one more admin thing, and then we're into me and what's happened this year, really, and the lack of content and why that is, and all of that. So before we do get into that, I just quickly want to say the Euros, we're not going to be touching on the Euros in this podcast. I'm planning on doing a full group review and a full group sort of roundup later this week, potentially looking at Sunday for that to be released, but not 100% sure at the moment. But I want to get a full sort of group roundup released before the end of the week, and then I can sort of crack on and do round of 16 content, which will be coming. But for now, I do just need to say that this podcast is not going to be Euros based. So yeah, my apologies for that, as my BBC stream goes. So that's great. Thank you to the BBC for that one. But yeah, where have I been is, I guess, the question on everybody's lips, on all 211 of you who are still subscribed to the channel. And I do appreciate that as well. I'm not expecting this to be a video that does particularly well, simply because I haven't uploaded in God knows how long. But I am back, and it's time to really get into it. What's happened in the last 5 months? Because I haven't been here, and I have posted some things onto the Instagram saying why I haven't been onto the channel and why I have had to take an extended break. But for those of you who haven't been on the Instagram, this is why I had to stop content. And it pained me to do such a thing, because I love creating content, and I've really enjoyed creating content for this channel. But as many of you know, I was doing my A-levels, and that was a massive focus for me. I want to go to uni to study sports journalism, and have in fact been accepted into a university to study that, presuming I get the grades needed, which was where the focus on A-levels came for me, because for the future and being able to do this full time and being able to do this as my job, that was something I did need to focus on. And something had to make way because of that, and this channel was sadly the thing that sort of had to, or sort of ended up going. I had to stop content. Exam stress was something that was really ramping up on me, simply because of the amount of work I had to do, and with how big A-levels are, I'm not the most studious student in the world, and I did have to put a lot of focus into that. So I simply had to bring the content to a stop. There were, I'm not going to go too much into, especially more recently, there's been some sort of personal issues that have added extra stress and added extra onto me as a person. And that was running from, a couple of weeks before exams, really. So that whole period for me was a massive period where I simply couldn't focus on this content. But we are now back, I can say. As I say, there were some personal issues, there was exam stress, and there were other issues that I'm sort of not going to go into at this moment in time. Ending ending the channel or stopping the channel for a prolonged period of time was something I was trying to avoid going into A-levels, but sadly it was just never going to be possible. And with that period of time, I did just need to focus on those exams. So yeah, I just wanted to start off by simply explaining where I have been, explain why I haven't been uploading, because I have been getting asked some questions, and the simple answer is I've had to put my time and energy elsewhere. One big thing I do, because I will make this into a video, this little section, one big thing I do want to say to anybody sort of listening is it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month at the moment. So to anybody who is sort of struggling, I implore you to speak to your mates and speak to somebody, because we all know that there's a massive stigma in men about speaking out, about struggling in general. It's the standard thing to just man up, and it's something I've done to myself, many times. Just stop worrying about it, man up, this is what you need to do. Men, we cope with this, you need to man up and you need to get on with it yourself. And that doesn't help anybody. The old age saying goes, a problem shared is a problem halved. So I do implore any men that are struggling to speak out and to speak to people. I know it's something that I felt necessary to do, and I went to my dad, and I really I spoke to him many times throughout the period I've been gone, more or less, about things simply not going my way. And that happens to everybody, and sometimes you do just have to cope with it, more or less. But please, I do say, times can be rough for everybody. You're not the only one going through something. There are people that are there that can support you. And please, it's Men's Mental Health Month. Speak out. Go to somebody you trust and just try and help yourself, because nobody should suffer alone. And it's something which I have suffered with a lot in the past, and I definitely have again throughout the past few months. So please, to anybody who's listening, go speak to your mates, speak to your family, and don't suffer alone, because nobody needs to. Nobody should suffer alone, and it's important. So just go drop a couple of your mates. How are you, mate? Are things actually okay? And yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go on that one too much. As I say, there have been some massive positives. As I say, I've been accepted into a sports university, and if my A-levels do go the way that I hope they will, then I'll be trying to make this kind of thing into a career. So there definitely have been positives over these last sort of 4, 5, 6 months, but there have been issues, and everybody goes through struggles, and there were amazing times, and there were not amazing times, and we all have to ride out the not amazing ones. But speaking to people you can trust is a massive thing. So please, one last time, go check in on your mates, and if you are struggling, reach out to somebody you can trust, because it's so important, and you'll get there. If there's anybody who's struggling, you'll get there, mate, I promise you. Right, we'll move on from that now. I want to also say that there is massive things planned for the channel, because this will turn into a video, and this is sort of the first proper video that's going to come out onto the channel. The focus is now back onto this channel. Now, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to post. I do run other content alongside this. I don't think I've ever particularly spoken about it on here, but I do run an Instagram page for gym content, which is called DanielTrains_. That's been doing really well recently. I mean, Liam, these things will mean something to you and to anybody who knows me, but the squares videos, the last time I would have posted on it, the squares videos wouldn't have been a thing, and well, they certainly are now. So if you want to
peak of Instagram content, really.
If you want to watch me eat a square and go dance, then scroll back through Daniel Trains a little bit, because those were some great times. So I do run other content alongside this. But big things are planned for this channel. I want to try and upload proper videos 3-4 times a week. I want to get shorts out, when I'm not uploading a video. I want something out to be onto the channel every single day, and I hope I can make that happen. So yeah, I think that's sort of where I can wrap that one up, but I do apologise for being gone. End of the day, sometimes you do just need to focus on yourself. You need to do things that make you happy and that cause you less stress, and simply doing this channel caused me stress. It was something that I wasn't enjoying at that moment in time because of the stress on it. So Yeah. I think that's me done for that, but I'm back. I'm properly back now, and you can enjoy some more content to come. So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's time to move on to some things that we've missed, or that I've missed, because I've missed quite a lot. Now, I can't go through everything I've missed, because I'd be sitting here for hours. Now, I'd love to really sort of reflect on everything that sort of happened, but I can't. So we're going to go through the sort of major through talking points and things, from now on I can really start going into detail on things when they come out. So we'll start with something that might need Liam needing some tissues. The Premier League winners. Manchester City won the Premier League. Liam, what were your initial thoughts on the final day when, Arsenal had a trophy parade set up and, it just didn't quite happen?
Well, to be honest, it was a really interesting week before that final day, right? Because I went from trying to keep it in my head that, it's already over, Man City are playing, who are they playing? West Ham, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have much faith in them, right? But then the day before came, right? Because obviously these games, all the games for you are what, 4 p.m. on the final day? They're 3 a.m. here.
Yeah.
so they were all at 3 a.m. And me and my mates decided we were going to do, I'm not sure if you guys have red cards over there. Do you know what a red card is for like a flat?
No idea.
No, so I'll explain. So a red card is like an impromptu drinking session essentially for like your uni flat. So if you call a red card, it means like you and your flatmates have to, like, you can't, no matter what you're doing, you have to get to this place and you have to do whatever whoever's called the red card is kind of explains what has to happen. Usually it's a game or something. So in this case, it actually wasn't my flatmate, but you can also go if you're not in the flat too, if you get invited. My mate Ben, he brought a lot of us around and we were drinking. Pretty much we all picked a name out of the hats for like one of the teams, and I think we had 2 teams each, and pretty much like if your team conceded, you'd drink. If your team scored, you could hand out drinks and stuff like that. So the day before I was really excited about that. I thought it was going to be a really good laugh. But I was also very, very aware that my hopes were starting to get increase by every hour, and it was nuts. Like the whole week I'd spent thinking we've got no chance, but when you get closer and closer, you start to believe.
You do.
And then when I was watching the game, and so then obviously Phil Foden scored within about 2 minutes, so that wasn't ideal. My hopes were pretty much up. But then Mohamed Kudus went and scored right before half time. At the same time, hold on, I should mention it was a freaking bicycle kick. Like, it was absolutely mental. So that absolutely made my emotions go wild. At the same time that Tomiyasu scored an absolute banger. I think it was his second ever Arsenal goal. So it felt like it was starting to become, inevitable. Like, oh wow, like it's going to be one of those days. We somehow went behind against Everton, and then we're still going to do it. But then obviously Rodgers came in with a standard dagger, like he always does. So inevitable, and that was frustrating. But you only have that pain as a fan if you've made it to the final day and you've battled for as long as we did. Our final 6 months of the season, the second half of the season was just incredible. I think one loss and 1 draw, and the rest were wins. So I mean, you can't really complain about that. If you can look at anything, you look at the first half of the season where we dropped points. So, but I was really happy with the season. Really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can do one better next season.
Yeah, indeed. 100th minute winner from Hungary.
Are you kidding me? I've turned my phone off because
I switched it off on my iPad because we've just had some connection issues. I've just checked on FootMob. Kevin Kazobov, 100th minute winner.
Oh my word.
90 plus 10. Wow.
Wow. I mean, I couldn't see how it would be possible that. Wait, hold on. Is it the real big number 9?
Oh,
Is it that dude that went viral over Twitter?
Oh, I know
The
exactly.
guy that looks like a. Have you? Oh, you may not seen it because you've been.
No, I know who
been
you're
away,
talking
but-
about. I know
Oh,
who you're
right,
talking
okay.
about. Don't you worry.
Yeah, like the big lumberjack looking bloke up front.
No, that's Adam. That's Martin Adam. Martin Adam is, he has all my heart. Especially hearing him speak about everybody bullying him, basically. He was like, I was born like this. And I got a lot of respect for him after that. But yeah, wow. I know when you're listening to this, that won't mean anything, but 100th minute winner. Wow, and Scotland's now out of the tournament as well. But I'll touch on that later in the week. Anyway, you can't speak about Man City without discussing one thing, Liam. So,
I don't know what that could be.
Now, I get why this thing, and I've got to be very careful here because I know that Man City are being a bit dodgy about not getting happy with people talking about it. So, everything I am about to say, it is all alleged. None of this is true, necessarily. There are charges that have been brought against the citizens, and it's all alleged. However, Manchester City have, allegedly been charged with 115 charges of breaking FFP and cheating in every way possible. Allegedly. So,
I mean, to be fair though, like City have, like, that's not alleged. They have.
they have been charged. Okay, they allegedly did it. Allegedly. Allegedly they did these things. Now, suing the Premier League, to me, it might make me think that you've done it, but allegedly, only allegedly done it. I'm not saying that they have done it. I'm saying that they might have done it. I don't want to talk about the charges because that's boring. I want to talk about what should be done because this side are dominant. Well, there's two questions here, really. First of all, what happens if they do get found guilty? Are you one of the people that say the titles need to be stripped and all of that? Do Arsenal need to win the last 2 Premier League titles? Or should they keep them because that's part of football history? And the second question in there is, what do the Premier League do until it's sorted? Because surely you can't keep this dragging on. If they win next year and it's still not sorted, then they've won 3 years when it's been sort of dragging over them. And it just looks poor at that point. Especially considering things like Forest, Everton, potentially Leicester this year are all getting points deductions.
Yeah, so, I mean, you don't have to worry about Man City winning the Premier League again next season because we're going to do it, so don't stress about that. But, no, it's really interesting, isn't it? Especially, obviously, you mentioned City trying to sue the Premier League now. And it screams of, it seems very tactical, doesn't it? It seems like, this is how we're going to defend ourselves. It's a bit of a last chance hurrah. I think that's the turn of phrase. But yeah, in terms of what I think should happen to them if they do get found guilty, to be honest, I think Liverpool fans would probably say the same, and I think most Arsenal fans would agree with me that having their titles stripped and being awarded to us, it won't do much for me at all.
No, I know.
I don't think like, oh yeah, okay, you've won the last 2. Like that's, I mean, it's nice to get the recognition in that, but I mean, you won't look back on that season like a title-winning season at all. Like it won't feel like that because you didn't get that celebration. You didn't get that, that feeling that you get. Which, to be fair, I've not felt because I'm too young to have experienced the Invincibles. I was born about 3 or so months before that title was lifted, so I was a bit young. But yeah, in terms of what I think should happen to them, I mean, with the charges that they have been, charged with, the breaches that they've been charged with, if they are found guilty for anything like a quarter to a half of those charges, I think they should be relegated. To be honest, like, I really think, like, I don't know how you can go through this whole process that takes over a year, and then eventually you just give them a slap on the wrist and give them like a 5-point deduction or something. Like it's just, there's no way. Like, this is so much worse. These charges are so much worse than what Everton or Nottingham Forest have been charged with, and they've had pretty heavy points deductions. So I mean, I can't see any way that Man City don't get a way bigger points deduction or a huge transfer embargo or something that really impedes them. But I honestly think, obviously as an Arsenal fan, there's plenty of bias here. I am going to say that, but I think I don't see how you can, get away with essentially cheating for 5 to 10 years and then not have them relegated.
Yeah, I don't think they will get relegated. I think the Premier League are the Premier League, and I would love to see them get relegated. I'd love to see them banished to the National League and have to work their way back up. But I don't think that will happen. What if they are found sort of guilty? I would say transfer ban, genuinely 3 years, maybe 4. Be like, no, you lot are done. You lot are gone. Transfer ban, 3-4 years. Because it's not. My thought is it's not the fans' fault. Now I know they'll lose 60% of their fan base, but yeah, I'm not gonna go into that because there are some real Man City fans. I'm meeting up with a real Man City fan on Wednesday, and there are some actual City fans. I would say 4-year transfer ban, and say to Sheikh Mansour, "Hi mate, here's we've got a bill for you to pay. 300 million. Sign on the dotted line, please." And give him a proper... And I know 300 million to him is, still not that much to a normal, compared to what it would be to me. But that's still a lot of money that he will not like to lose. I would do something like that. I think that's where they stay in the Premier League. All the players leave because of the transfer embargo anyway. They'll slip into mid-table, and that's what they deserve. I think that's where I'm at with it. And I think if that happens, great. I just hope it happens soon.
Yeah, it is ridiculous that, this is happening and it's taking so long where all these other teams are being charged. Like, I understand that this process is obviously going to be longer than, Everton's like one charge in City of 115, and they've probably got just as many lawyers, 115 lawyers sitting there trying to delay the case. So, I understand that, but also it comes across as very unfair, really, and preferential treatment when the teams at the bottom, which I think Richard Marsden called them the small clubs. He referred to clubs that, like Everton and Forest, in one of them annual general meetings, and got criticism for that, and rightly so. And I also don't think he's going to want to have another situation like he did at the end of this season, where he came to the Emirates instead of going to the Man City game because he didn't want to award them the Premier League trophy. So it just looks, it's really, really embarrassing on their front, and they've allowed it to happen. So I mean, they do deserve. They've let owners like Sheikh Mansour in, and even though they were given a second chance to, fix that type of situation, they've now let the Newcastle owners in, who are billions of times richer almost, and have a very even dodgier. Or I mean, I'm not sure if the City owners' track record was necessarily that dodgy, especially in comparison to Newcastle's. There's a lot of talk about them, and rightly so.
There is a lot of talk about them. So yeah, we'll get to that. I think especially when you're talking about sort of executives of these leagues, I think something I do want to speak about is final day at Leicester when we got presented to the Championship. In case you haven't already mentioned that, we're going to get to the Championship in a little bit because there's a certain side in Yorkshire that I need to also discuss that might involve me bursting out laughing. But I think executives is something I do quickly want to touch on, simply because at the KP they announce who's going to hand out the trophy. We're all buzzing as a fan base. Obviously, we're about to be awarded the Championship. They announce it's a Championship official, and the entire ground starts booing. So I think these people need to rethink it themselves, because after you've been trying to shaft the football club all year, maybe don't announce who you are coming on to give the trophy to the team, because the fans don't like you. And I think it was made clear with just boos and boos and boos. So yeah, EFL, I don't want to say what I think about you, but there is a famous chant that goes something the EFL, and I do agree with that. But this is a child-friendly channel, so I don't swear. We'll move on from City. We'll move on from Arsenal as well, because as I said, we're going to properly look into them a little bit later. Next year. Now, I would say take bias out of this. I'm sure I know what your answer is already going to be, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. Who's going to win the Premier League next year is your early prediction, and I'm waiting for the answer to be Arsenal in probably 3, 2, 1.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I of course we're battling with Man City. We've gotten closer and closer. We're only finished 2 points behind them, and I'm sure the bookies' favourites will still be Man City because they just keep doing it and they'll keep winning because, the way they've got there is a little bit disingenuous. I mean, allegedly, I should say, because I don't want to get your podcast cancelled. I've done it before. I've already done it before, or almost done it before, with certain language I've spoken.
Oh, I do remember what you're talking about.
Certain celebrity Arsenal fan that I'm not a huge fan of.
Good evening, Piers, if you're listening.
But yeah, no, I do think we will do it. I think Mikel Arteta is going to have them going. The speech he had on the final game of the season was just telling the fans to not be satisfied with this, and we're going to go back and we're going to do it next season. So I really do have faith that the players are going to be really, really buzzing to go for it again. Obviously, we essentially had a title-winning level season and we still didn't do it. So like we could have another season like we did this, and you couldn't really complain if Man City beat you to the pot. If we get another 89 points and Man City still win the league, then I'm not sure how critical we can be of the players. That's a fantastic season. So I think that's what is most important for me. And obviously, I don't want to ramble too much on about Arsenal because we're going to talk about them later. Is that we make a better effort in the cup competitions because the last few seasons I think we've been unlucky with the draws. But we've gone out very early in the FA Cup and Carabao Cup respectively. So I guess improvement on those fronts would make it a lot easier if City did went on to win the league. But I don't really see anyone else competing for the league besides us two at the moment.
No, absolutely not. I think I can see it being Arsenal. I can see it being Arsenal. I can see it being City. And I don't see anybody else. The only thing I will touch on after that is you North London clubs and having stabs at people. Because you obviously took a little bit of a pop at Piers Morgan, which I will not confirm or deny if I'm in appreciation of. But I still remember when your best friend, Spurs News, because I know you and Spurs News are so close, being Arsenal and Spurs, obviously. I will never forget when he had a little pop at Jed Spence. Was it Jed? No, it was Emerson, saying Emerson was really bad. Next week, Emerson put out a good performance. He put a post out saying, Emerson was good, and Emerson put it on his story, not knowing that the week before, Spurs News had been slagging him off, saying that he's a really bad footballer and all of that. So I won't ever quite forget that. That if Emerson Royale did his research, then I don't think that would have ended up on his story because, obvious reasons there. Anyway, we'll move on from the Premier League into something that's even more boring, the Champions League. This is boring now. Well done, Real Madrid. That was really interesting. Thanks for winning that. Really enjoyed watching that final. So boring. Can please somebody else win it? Because Real Madrid, look, I'd even take Man City winning it next year. Real Madrid, you're just too good. No. Please just stop winning things. Carlo, get that pipe out of your mouth. It's all I seem to see nowadays. I fall asleep and I have nightmares about you just having a... it's boring. I don't even want to speak about it. Real Madrid won the Champions League. Well done, lads. However, something I do need to speak about that does still have the word champion in it. The Championship. Hi Leeds. Leeds United. Probably around the last time, maybe about a month or so after the last time I posted. You won the league, didn't you, when you beat us 3-1? I seem to remember. You had a great performance and beat us 3-1. You didn't even have a good performance. We played it for the park for 75 minutes. What happened, Leeds? Because you won the league after that, I seem to remember. Seem to remember your star striker coming out and saying that they were the best team in the league. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, Liam. Leeds aren't playing in the Premier League next season, are they?
No, I don't think so. Tell you what, I've been eagerly waiting for a post about the Premier League saying, they've been doing all these posts about Ipswich and Leicester and talking about the club history, and I've been waiting for Leeds as one, and then suddenly I was like, what the hell? Southampton's one has come out, and that's 3 teams, and I thought, well, where the hell are Leeds?
Leeds got promoted in March after they beat us 3-1. So, sorry, Leeds. I did have to take a pop. I've been waiting to do that for so long. I would have just loved to laugh the entire podcast. But I'm not that horrible. I will say that I predict a riot. I do want to play a certain song. Maybe, love will tear us apart again. But, oh well. Or whatever it is. Leeds are falling apart again. But yeah, I will touch on my side. Obviously, Leicester City, we did win the championship. Something that should have been expected from us, in all honesty. We did have the best side in that division, and Enzo Maresca made it a lot more difficult than it should be. Obviously, Enzo Maresca will not be our manager going into next season after he decided to leave to Chelsea. I don't mind that decision at all. After we went through that spell of losing to Millwall and Plymouth, I think after the Plymouth game, I remember went to the pub with one of my mates, and I bumped into a couple of Leicester fans in Loughborough afterwards, and I said, look, I think he needs to go at this point. I think he won't go. I think he won't take us up. And if we do, we'll stumble over the line. Now, we didn't end up stumbling over the line, and we did end up actually picking up. But he lost a lot of sort of respect for me during that spell. We've heard that it was the players who carried us over the line, not Enzo himself. So him deciding to leave to go to Chelsea, I wasn't particularly annoyed about. Steve Coop's come in, at which there will be a video about at some point. I'm neutral on the decision. I really didn't like it to start with, but it has started to grow on me. I think he really cares about the football club, which seems weird considering how much he cared about Forest as well. But that's the decision that's been made. So there we are. And I think at that point, what we will do is we'll take a short break here before we come back, and we come back to discuss Arsenal's season. We are back from the break and back into another section now. So Arsenal Football Club. Obviously, last season was a good year for Arsenal, all told. However, it did end trophyless, and it did end with the side finishing second in the Champions League. Second in the Champions League, definitely not. Second in the Premier League, and not quite achieving as much as they would have liked in things like the Premier League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup. So, my first question to you, Liam, is, was last season successful?
It's a really interesting question, really, because obviously we've had, probably our best season in I'm not sure how long. I mean, it depends what you value as your best season, if you win a trophy or not. But all I know is that I feel much better about this last season than the one we won an FA Cup in and during COVID when we finished 8th place. So, listen, I think a lot of the arguments coming around whether Arsenal's season was successful or not came right after Man United won the FA Cup, which they, like Man United fans, they took their chance to take the piss out of Arsenal and say, after this whole season we've won a trophy and you haven't, and fair enough to them. I'd be doing the same, I suppose. But also, I'm sure most Arsenal fans will be feeling, they would have felt much happier over the last year with their club and how they performed than Man United. So, to answer your question, I would say that no. I don't think you can say our season was successful if we haven't ended it with a trophy, but it doesn't mean the season wasn't a good season, if you know what I mean. So, I define success, success means trophies in my head, but we've definitely moved forward and improved and progressed. But as I said in the first part of the podcast, we do need to start performing in the cups, and I do think it has been just a combination of just really bad luck, to be honest, with the draws we've got. I think in the Carabao Cup we had West Ham away, and we had Brentford away first, which we did beat with a B team, and then we played West Ham away, which is pretty rough in the Carabao Cup considering the teams you could get in the third or fourth round. And then the last 2 seasons we've had Man City and Liverpool in the FA Cup, so very early on. So you can't. It's tough to level complaints at Arteta that he doesn't take the cup seriously, because that is something that some Arsenal fans do say, but I think it's a very harsh criticism considering the teams we've came up against, and the same people that say that are also the same people that say Arteta needs to give young players more of a chance. So, like, what is it? Do you want us to play young players in the cups and then get knocked out, or do you want us to play, a strong team and try and win the cup? So, you can't win if you're Arteta. I guess there's always going to be fans that are complaining about something. So, I think I understand the claims if you're an Arsenal fan that we've not won a trophy, so it's not successful, and I think that is sort of what I have just said. But I think there is a certain expiry point with a team, with a manager that you saw it with Tottenham under Poch. You can have loads of goodwill for how well the team are doing and how good the manager has been, but there's only a certain amount of time that you can kind of do that without really winning the big trophies. So I do think this season's going to be quite defining. I do think we need to win something, because I think if we don't win something this season, I think the pressure from Arsenal fans would actually really be on Arteta to win something, and we don't need that. And I don't think this team deserves it, because I think it's a lot better even than that Spurs side with Pochettino. So we've taken Man City all the way, like, properly, and Spurs didn't really ever do that. And of course, Spurs are just, they're shit, so we're not going to compare ourselves to them. Sorry for probably ruining your CPM there. But I guess I've sort of answered the question. I'd say no, it wasn't a successful season technically, but we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. What I want to sort of further that on with is, I'm sure you have seen the claims of sort of, well, I'm going to be honest, it's mainly one group of fans, Manchester United fans, saying that they've had a more successful season than Arsenal simply because of that FA Cup win. Now, I know you've touched on it there, more or less because you had that exact same season when you finished, I can't remember if it was 7th or 8th for you lot, but you finished quite low down, you won the FA Cup. What do you make of those claims that a season is more successful, or, what do you make of the claims that your season wasn't successful because of the lack of that trophy?
Well, I suppose I did answer it somewhat in the last question, but I mean, in terms of from a Man United's perspective, look, they've just finished with their worst Premier League season, I think, in history. I know Premier League season's their worst. I think it might even be their worst in top division history, in terms of their finishing place. And their defence in the second half of the season was the second worst in all of the Europe's top 5 leagues. So of course, it's just the nature of online football discourse that there's going to be quite a few Man United fans that are going to take this opportunity to say, well, look, Ten Hag's won as many trophies as Arteta, so Arteta's not that good, but every year, I guarantee you, almost every Man United fan that said that would take Arteta as their coach as a heartbeat, and probably felt deeply saddened when they found out Ten Hag's not only going to stay, but probably receive a new contract after that fucking disastrous season they've just had. So, listen, it's obviously, you've got to be aware of, like, the people that are saying these things, that Arsenal have had a less successful season than Man United. There's a value to them saying those things, like, especially if, like, I understand if fans are saying it because they're just trying to get likes on Twitter, but the same can be said for, if it's Rio Ferdinand or someone like that. I'm not sure if he has, but he probably has, because he's a bit of a, to be honest. But I love just absolutely ripping out people and making it great for you to edit.
I'm leaving this till tomorrow morning to edit now. I'm not. Oh, so you've gone.
No, well, I mean that wasn't. It's probably more of a New Zealand Kiwi slang word, isn't it? But it's not. You shouldn't have to edit that out.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So sorry for a short pause there. My mother was shouting me. We'll move on to Arsenal for next season. You look at this Arsenal squad sort of moving into the new year now. What do you think they sort of need to do in the summer transfer window to try and make sure that they are ready to attack the Premier League and potentially the Champions League as well?
I think the summer is far more interesting, as maybe I think someone outside of Arsenal may think, well, what do they actually need? They've got quite a strong squad. I think a lot of the media talk is that Arsenal need a number 9, a proper number 9. And wholeheartedly disagree that is what we need. I think it's the talk is that it's very likely that we now probably won't go in for a number 9 now that Sesko has decided to stay at Leipzig. He is obviously a target for us, but that sounds like it was more of a, as much as I hate this term, a market opportunity than anything else. The reason I say I hate that term is I think people use it completely out of context and not correctly. But I do think in that situation it really was a market opportunity with his very small release clause, and it was going to happen before the Euros. And now that he signed that contract, I mean, he hasn't scored yet, but he's looked lively, and he's obviously a talented player. But anyways, yeah, I think what's the biggest thing for us this season, or this summer, if you will, is that we raise the floor of the team. We've got a strong starting 11 that could match almost anyone's, I think. The only place in the starting 11 that you'd sort of question is the midfield, is because, I think we came up with a quite nice, elegant solution that worked for the second half of the season when Kai Havertz wasn't really working in midfield, and our striking situation was a bit, we didn't really know what we wanted from it. We had Trossard up there at times, but Jesus was injured, and Nketiah, clearly, he just wasn't really good enough. And obviously we found a solution with Havertz up there, and he's looked really, really good, and I'm absolutely happy to go into the next season with him as our starting number 9.
Okay.
I think he's looked really good there, and he brings a lot to the team, brings a lot to the players around him as well. And I think he scored, about 11 goals and almost as many games up there up front in the second half of the season. So if he was to even do 3/4 or half of that next season, he'd be in a very solid goal tally over the course of a whole season. So I was really impressed with him. So I'm not too fussed about getting a striker. But as I said, as I was speaking about midfield, obviously we ended up with Declan Rice in that number 8 role, which wasn't what was expected at the start of the season. And we had Jorginho come in as a 6, and I think it worked out really well. But I don't think the long term. I don't think it's the long-term plan. Obviously, it can't be too long-term because Jorginho's fairly old and he doesn't really have the legs. We saw that at the end of the season where, he was kind of subbed off as soon as we had secured the result. He was taken off, and the games that felt less important he did not play. So, I think, we'll need to sign a midfielder. It's really unclear whether it's going to be a number 6 or a number 8. It sort of depends what our plan is for Declan Rice, because he really did make that position his own in the second half of the season. But I do think we need some more quality in there. So we've been linked with Eze in the last couple of days. I do really like him, but I sort of think, you're sort of seeing with England as well, with Declan Rice, he's a fantastic player, but he's not like a ball progressor per se. He's really good at keeping the ball and moving it around and winning the ball back. But I don't think his best quality is, dictating play. So I almost think that left 8 role needs to be someone a little bit more in between. I'm not sure number 10 is what we need there. I think more of a real box-to-box midfielder, or like someone that's a little bit more close in profile to like a number 6 than a number 10, if you know what I mean. Like a Frankie de Jong or someone. I don't think, maybe not Frankie de Jong because his wages would be mad, but some player in the mould of that. But it's not my job to be the Arsenal scout. But as I was saying about the floor of the squad, I think the biggest issue with our team last season was the fact that our bench, once again, just wasn't really strong enough. Players like Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira, they barely played any minutes, and that's because I don't think Arteta could really trust them to do that. Same as Nketiah and Nelson. So I think it's likely that the 3 academy graduates out of that group will probably be not in the team by the end of the summer. If I think that would be the ideal situation for Edu and Arteta. I think that's what they want. Whether they will be able to get all of them out the door is another question. But I do think, in terms of the rest of the squad, it is just about raising the floor. We also do need a backup keeper because, obviously Ramsdale's going to want to go.
Yeah.
And we also don't really have a third choice keeper at the moment because
Okonkwo's gone, hasn't
he? Yeah, Okonkwo's gone. And then we've also surprisingly managed to sign Karl Hein to a new deal. who's been our third choice keeper and a youngster at the academy. But he's only signed that with the being told that he's allowed to go out on loan next season. So essentially, it doesn't really do much for our actual third keeper. So what I'd like for that position would be a sort of Scott Carson-esque signing. I think get someone just experienced, who's been in the Premier League. He fills the homegrown quota, and so it means that it's a position we don't really have to worry about maybe for 2-3 years, because goalkeepers naturally the backup keepers do change a lot. But if you can get someone in there that's going to be really valuable as a homegrown player, but has loads of experience and can really help out whoever comes in. I mean, it has been of value to Man City, Scott Carson being there. I know he's memed all the time, because he just looks so out of place. But I do think there is a lot of value in a signing like that.
Okay, so we're looking at sort of a backup keeper, a number 8, and they're sort of the two main positions where the striker you've decided that isn't particularly needed here.
Yeah, I'd say that we still need a forward, certainly, because as I said, if Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah both go, that leaves us with Jesus, Trossard, Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz. So that's 5. You ideally sort of need a 6th one, and realistically, I think it's been talked about for the last 2-3 summers that we need someone to help Bukayo Saka get some rest every now and again, and I think it's true. He seems to get up after every foul. Like he's very resilient, but I do think it is starting to affect him. Like we're seeing this summer with England, he's been taken off quite early, and I think that is a lot to do with his fitness, because that's never really happened before for England, and I do think that is harming him somewhat. And I almost would like to see him get a proper rest for like a month into the season, but we can't really do that now because we've got an absolutely horrid start to the season in terms of we've got Man City away and Tottenham away in like the first 5 games. So I don't think there's really going to be a chance for anyone to rest. But yeah, so I'd say we do need a forward. I'm not sure who that's going to be. I think a winger would be good. I think one thing that we were really missing last season, and it's been talked about from like David Ornstein and The Athletic, is that it felt like we were really missing that game-breaking star, that one that can just win you game for the moment. Like Man City have a Kevin De Bruyne, or Liverpool have a Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I really thought like Michael Olise, I know he's off to Bayern Munich now, but he had that type of game-breaking quality. And it's so hard to find. It is really hard to find. It's someone that I really like, and obviously the deal would be almost impossible for a number of reasons, as Marcus Rashford. But I mean, that type of quality that can just win you games, just like an incredible ability to strike the ball, or some fantastic pace and power, or incredible skill. Someone like even Rafael Leao, that type of talent. It's quite hard to find, and it's going to be very expensive to get. And I'm not sure. I can't see us really spending that much money on a forward, because I think we do have a fairly strong front line already. But yeah, I do feel like almost this summer it feels like we're looking for just the right opportunities to arise. Just almost trying to sign the best players instead of just targeting a position and being like, okay, this is a player in that position, we're going to get them. I think we're in a position now with a fairly strong squad that we can look at the transfer window and say, all right, we're only going to sign players that are seriously going to improve this team.
I think that's a very good way to look about it, really. I was going to sort of move on to ask you about your plans for Kai Havertz for next season, but we've almost already touched upon that, saying that we feel like the idea of using him as that main striker is the best idea.
What do you think of Kai Havertz?
What do I think of Kai Havertz? Well, that is $1 million question. I still can't quite understand him. He's not Arsenal initially brought him in to be the 10, the 8/10, to go alongside Odegaard. I think most people can understand that was the initial idea surrounding bringing Kai Havertz into the football club. That obviously didn't particularly work out. and he's looked okay as a striker. Do I think Kai Havertz will win the league as a striker? I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest. I'm really, really not sure there. I think he's a good player. I'm really torn on him. He's one of them I still can't quite figure out, really.
I understand the reluctance, because I think there's still part of me and a lot of Arsenal fans that are like, you can't be 100% sure that he's going to be the guy. But I think we've seen a lot in that second half of the season. It wasn't just, he's actually started scoring goals. Oh, now he's the guy. But he showed quality that we just didn't have in the team in terms of the ability to hold up play, the ability to win. He just wins aerial duels so easily. Like, he's so good in the air. He's a really, really clever player. And yeah, he adds so much to the squad. And I think the thing that gives me confidence that that he could do it for a season is that he actually, like, during that whole time, he still missed chances. Like, he wasn't like Erling Haaland, he's gonna fucking bury all these chances, but he gets into the positions all the time, and he's so clever with his runs, and he works so hard for the team. And I'm in a position where, like, if you bring in someone like Victor Osimhen or like a big number 9, I don't think they can bring you the qualities that Kai Havertz does to this team to improve the rest of them. I think you saw it with Man City when they first got Erling Haaland. I still think it's the case where when he's not in the team, they look generally a bit more fluid. But obviously you kind of make that sacrifice for someone like Erling Haaland because he's just incredible. But I'm not sure that player is out there for us. If there was another Erling Haaland, then fair enough. But I don't think that they're about. They don't grow on trees. So yeah, and also, I mean, we finished the season with the most goals in the Premier League. We didn't have Erling Haaland. We still scored more goals than Man City. We had Kai Havertz up top for the second half of the season. So, I completely understand if you're, a neutral or an outsider to Arsenal, that you'd still be questioning Kai Havertz. I think there's still a lot of Arsenal fans that are unsure and still prefer us to sign a number 9. But from my perspective, I'm really quite excited to see how he goes. I really almost want to see him get that chance of being a number 9 for an entire season at a top club and not at an absolute shambles of a club like Chelsea.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair enough. And I think I will remain torn on him for a while because he's a player that has sort of bounced around a lot so far. So I'm not sure. I'm really not sure on him, and I think it will sort of take me a while to get sure on him, really. I guess last but not least, if you are to make very, very early predictions, what are you thinking for next season?
It's a hard one, it really is, because in so many ways we had a very good season last year. I think my prediction is that we will win one of the cups. I really think we'll go far in one of them. It might be the Carabao Cup, might be the FA Cup, I'm not sure. Sorry, I've just had a notification. It's managed to knock my phone over. I'll turn those off. But yeah, so I do think we will win one of the cups. That'll be one of my predictions. And I really do think we can bring it all the way and win the league. I'm not sure if we will. And in terms of the Champions League, we've not really spoken about that today with Arsenal. I'd just like to see us progress even further than last season. And, if we get a tie like Bayern or, I don't know, one of those real mammoth ties that you can get in the Champions League, I'd really like to see us perform better over 2 legs. Like, we don't have to win it. I understand the Champions League is it's a tough beast. Like Man City, it took them how long? Like 6 or 7 years it took Guardiola to win the league with Champions League with Man City. So I understand it's a different competition. It requires different skills. And if Arteta doesn't win it on a second time of asking, and Arsenal, this team's second time of asking, most of them barely played in the Champions League. I can't be saying like, oh, they have to win the Champions League or they have to get to the Champions League final, because I don't think that's really fair. So yeah, I'd say win one of the cups, go a little bit further in the Champions League, and bring it all the way in the Premier League again. And I can't really argue with that.
I think that would be an absolutely excellent season for Arsenal, but it all depends on the summer business to come. So we'll wrap up this section there before we come back to do something a little bit silly. We are back and we are here to do something a little bit silly. Now, I was having a little think of what I wanted to do for this final section, because this doesn't normally make it into a video unless I think this is the best thing in the world. And I sat down and I thought, what's one thing I've always wanted to speak about on Daniel Talks Football? And I thought, I want to rank every single Premier League captain in terms of, I think, their ability to win a 1v1 battle fight to the death. So what we've decided to do is we've got all 20 Premier League captains in front of us, and I'll run you through them in a second. We've picked out the 4 weakest, which again we'll go through in a little bit. And then from then on, we've got 16 players. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a 1v1 battle with each of them going letter order down, going alphabet order, down, until we reach a final winner who we think, if you're battling 1v1, each Premier League captain versus each Premier League captain would come out on top. It's stupid, but it's funny. So the 20 Premier League captains are Martin Odegaard, John McGinn, Neto, Norgard, Dunk, Reece James, Joel Ward, Seamus Coleman, Tom Kearney, Sam Morsey, Jamie Vardy, Virgil van Dijk, Kyle Walker, Bruno Fernandes, Jamal Lascelles, Joe Wall, Jack Stevens, Son, Max Kilman and Kurt Zouma. We'll start off with the 4 weakest, we think. Now, we have had to take out 4 here. And our idea of this is, they've picked out all 20 Premier League captains and they've gone, we need to kill off 4 of you before we even get into the little 1v1 arena. So, which 4 of you are the weakest? Who did we decide to go with first, Liam?
I hate to say it, because I love the guy, and he puts in a great effort on the pitch for us, but I think Martin Odegaard, in this type of situation, I don't really fancy him, in a duel, as Mikel Arteta would say, in the duel, but with swords and that. So
yeah, no, he wouldn't do very well. The others we did decide to eliminate: Heung-min Son. The less said, the better. Everybody knows it. Kyle Walker. The reasons, we all know them. Am I going to come and publicly state them? Potentially not. Is it? It is.
He'd be too busy with certain activities. He would be
too busy doing things he shouldn't. And the last one, Sam Morsey. I'm going to be honest, neither of us had actually heard of him before, but we were searching up and it was 5'9", and not that 5'9" is a bad height considering I myself am 5'9". So we're not going to bully short people, but I wouldn't back myself in this kind of fight. Maybe the muscles would help, but the height wise, absolutely not. So those 4 have gone. So we will start the 1v1s with Big John McGinn versus Neto.
This is an interesting one,
It is.
I actually don't think it's as straightforward as it may seem.
You would initially think John McGinn.
You think John McGinn because he's an absolutely feisty bugger. Mm-hmm. He works really hard, and almost once a game he just absolutely clatters the opposing team. So I am inclined to go him, but I do think Neto will put up a good fight. I just feel like John McGinn might be just a bit sneaky and coming behind his back and give him a hit around the head or something.
I think it would be a very good battle, but I think John McGinn's the right shout here.
Yeah, but the goalkeeper though, how tall is Neto? He must be 6'2", 6'3", right? He's a big
He
boy.
must be tall, but John McGinn's got that Scottish fight in him.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. I think we do have to go with him. I'm just checking. He's 1.9 meters Neto. So how tall is that? Is it 6'2" or 6'3", right?
That's tall, but not massively tall. So that's minus 5'9".
Yeah, no. He's 6'3" against McGinn's 5'8" or something. So I think that does have to come into account. I think Neto might win that because McGinn's he's not tall. I'll just have a quick check at how tall John McGinn is, but. It depends. You can make this call if you want to go with John McGinn.
I think John McGinn. I think I've got a good John McGinn. I think the Scottish fight in him wins that one. So John McGinn makes it to the next round. The next round of 16 tie. Norgard versus Dunk. Is there any discussion needed?
I think. Well, I think you're going to say Lewis Dunk, but I'm saying Norgard. I think. Yeah, Norgard. He's absolutely huge.
I know he's huge, but Lewis Dunk.
Yeah, but Lewis Dunk, he's a bit I don't know. He just looks like there's not much going on there in his head.
Yeah, but there doesn't need to be much going on in his head. He's just a lump.
No, I know, but like Christian Norgard, he just looks like someone you just would not want to mess with. Lewis Dunk just looks, I don't know, he looks like a soft, friendly giant almost. Whereas Norgard, I feel like he would absolutely batter you if you said something about his family or something. You know, like
Yeah, but I think Dunk could as well. I've seen a lot of people in England who look like they don't know what all going on up there, and yeah, could still batter you.
All right, so should we do like each round one of us has the final decision?
I think what the way to do it is if we're both this torn, I'm going to whack up a random number generator, and you're going to pick a number 1 or 2, and we can go from there. This is the best YouTube content you guys are ever going to see. I don't want to verify I'm a human for random.
No, you know what? I feel like we should just decide. No, because it needs to be like a no.
I think we're both torn. I'm on Dunk. I think you're on Norgard.
No, I'm happy to go with Dunk. It's alright. We'll go with Dunk.
You sure?
Alright, now, I mean, yeah, no, if you've got the number generator, we'll...
Pick a number, 1 or 2.
We'll go 1.
The correct answer was, in fact, number 2. It is Christian Norgard, isn't it? You are out in the first round, mate. I'm very sorry. You put up a very good fight. And I'm not cheating. I could prove it to you. I just don't care that much to send a screenshot of this same 2.
I get a feeling like that was a tough first round, to be honest.
I think
they both go very far.
I wonder if Dunk might be a little bit depleted after it. Potentially. Maybe we've got to keep in mind that for future rounds. Next up, Reece James versus Joel Ward. Joel Ward kicks Reece James's hamstring and it's done.
Yeah, I think there's not much choice. Like as soon as I think genuinely Joel Ward could just poke him and he'd go down injured. So like it doesn't take much for Reece James. So we were
close to not putting Reece James in, but we decided he passed a late fitness test and just then collapsed.
As with Reece James' season, he will come back for one fight and be injured already. So
bang on. Next up, we have Seamus Coleman versus Tom Kearney. Very interesting.
Here, right?
Who are you thinking?
Well, in my head, I think he's Seamus Coleman fighting Irish, mate.
Irish versus Scott, though.
Yeah, but Tom Kearney just looks... He's a
bit small as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's also like a bit... Am I wrong? I'm going to have to get a picture of it. I swear he's like a bit pretty boy, like with his hair.
I do agree. I think Coleman will win it. I don't think Coleman's a favourite. Granted, Coleman versus Ward in the next round is, not a great battle considering some of the people we've already had to take out. But I think...
Actually, yeah, I do think it would be quite close fight, actually, looking at Tom Kearney. He would give it a good go. But I do think... Oh, you know what? Seamus Coleman's old, Tom Kearney's a bit younger, isn't he?
This is your decision.
Yeah. Tom Kearney's 33. How old's Coleman? That's like a big...
About the same, I think.
Seamus Coleman. I think he must be older than that. He's been around for ages. Coleman's 35. Okay, it's not much of a difference there. But Coleman's small. You know what? I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go with Tom Kearney, I think.
You're going to go with Tom Kearney to progress to the next round. Okay,
sorry, it's enough I know you guys hear me as a Kiwi, but I am half Irish as well, so I have let Seamus Coleman down a little bit.
You have. That's absolutely disgraceful. Tom Kearney progresses to the next round. Next up, this is a battle of the Titans.
Oh, wow. Just see
it's the Red Bull vodka snus loving Jamie Vardy versus everybody's favourite. No, how do I put this? Everybody who lives in Liverpool's favourite non-Scouse person, Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah. No. I think Jamie Vardy would put up a fight. But I get
You've got to be careful what you say here. You've got to be careful what you say here.
No, I know. I'm sure you've got a lot of Leicester fans on this podcast as well. So, but Virgil van Dijk, he's just huge, isn't he?
But
it's nothing against Jamie Vardy. I think he'd better anyone his own size. But
Vardy is like only 5'10".
But yeah, exactly. Vardy's only 5'10". Virgil van Dijk's probably the most monstrous centre back and the most dominant centre back we've seen in the Premier League. So, and he also he's not one to go away from the fight. We saw him, in that was it the round of 16, a quarter final last World Cup where there was the incident between Argentina and the Netherlands where they were as Paredes I think smashed the ball at the Netherlands defence, at the Netherlands bench. I'm sorry, and then Van Dijk just came in and bodied him by barely moving.
But I can see Vardy just like stabbing him and running away laughing, like doing high knees or something, just like looking back over his shoulder. I can see.
I feel like we haven't actually discussed is their weapons allowed? Like, what is it like a Hunger Games situation?
Neither of us have thought about this at all.
No. I mean, I guess it has to be like melee weapons only. Like you can't have like a gun.
No, you can't have a gun. That would be a bit
No.
easy.
So I'll go fancy Virgil. I feel like Vardy will just keep going. Like he'll keep going until he's literally dead. Like he'll just keep fighting.
I will
Even
give
though,
you
Van
it.
Dijk he'll get up and keep going for it. But I think Van Dijk he just looks a bit. I can't see him getting battered by Vardy.
I will give you it, but Vardy, just know I love you, mate, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it's come to this. Just, it's gonna be okay. Just have a couple more Red Bulls. Next up, we have Bruno Fernandes versus Jamal Lascelles. Do you want me to put Jamal through now?
I've just realised Bruno Fernandes should not have even gotten through to this round of 16, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he's got lucky. I think he will get in and he'll flop onto the floor.
I actually fancy Martin Odegaard ahead of Bruno Fernandes.
I think he's in now, and I think we've got to go with it, which I know you've absolutely
No, we've got to go for it now. It's fine, but just know that I think Odegaard would absolutely better Fernandes.
I think this is Jamal Lascelles all day, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
No doubts about it. Bruno Fernandes, you are out. Next up, we've got Joe Wall versus Jack Stevens. Two very, very, very English centre-backs. And it's worth saying, Joe Wall, out in Turkey on loan for the last 6, 12 months, whatever. We know what the Turkish league is like. He might have learnt a thing or two.
And it is worth noting that Jack Stevens is probably going to have to wait a good 12, 24 hours for Joe Wall to come back to England before he actually starts scrapping him. So that is, I think... one of the things you have to consider is jet lag. So, based on that, I'm going with Jack Stevens.
You're going with Jack Stevens?
Because Jack Stevens is a big lad, isn't he?
He is a big lad. I think I will back it, but I think Joe Wall would have had a good chance.
To be fair, yeah, with his experience in Turkey now, you might fancy him. I'll let you have the deciding vote on that one.
I think I'm going to back Jack Stevens, but I think it's a close one, and I think either of them goes out to Jamal Lascelles in the next round anyway, so I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah. Not too much.
And then last but not least, for the round of 16, we have Max Kilman versus Kurt Zouma. Again,
Good fight though.
It's a great fight, but look at
Kurt Zouma. We've seen what he can do to a small domestic animal. And, Max Kilman playing for Wolves, obviously slightly bigger domestic animal. Well, not a domestic animal at all, but I still fancy Kurt Zouma. I genuinely think he looks like the type of person who could swallow another human whole.
Oh, bang on. I think he could do too.
He's able to do that. I genuinely think, he might be able to. I can just see him he gets into this fight and Max Kilman absolutely shits himself when Zouma opens his mouth and just swallows him whole entirely. The commentators are just going to be sitting there just dumbfounded, like, what has just happened? Max Kilman has been eaten.
This is the content everybody subscribes to this channel for. Please don't unsubscribe. Right, next up, we're through to the next round. The first fight of the next round is Big John McGinn versus Lewis Dunk.
Yeah, we've let McGinn get through by being a cheeky bugger, but I don't think he gets past Lewis Dunk.
No. I don't think at all. I think that is Lewis Dunk all day long. I think whoever won Norgard versus Dunk was always going to be a favourite, and I think Dunk easily.
Yeah.
Next up, Joel Ward versus Tom Kearney. That's not a great fight for the quarterfinals.
No, it isn't really, is it? Joel Ward. I need to check on his height. I don't think he's very tall, right? He's a fullback. Well, to be fair, he's 1.88. That's almost. I think that's about 6'3". So that's much taller than I thought he was. And based on that, I didn't think there was much between them if they're a similar height. But that's almost a good bit taller than Tom Kearney. He's at about 5'10", I think. So I think I've got to go with Joel Ward. He's also a bit of a brute as a fullback.
He's a bit of a boot. I think Joel Ward is a good choice there. I don't think it's the best matchup though for the quarterfinals. Sorry, I must say.
Yeah.
Next up is Virgil van Dijk versus Jamal Lascelles.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I don't know. I think one of you got to look for some very specific qualities now.
Like,
to see who is going to win.
Does Jamal Lascelles just pull Van Dijk's hair? Potentially. Maybe,
but also is Jamal Lascelles, he barely plays now. Is he even fit enough to get off the seat of the bench? So
that's a good shout.
But then
that's
also,
a very good shout.
Jamal Lascelles plays in Newcastle. I'm sure he gets into his fair amount of bar scraps now that he's not playing. And then Virgil van Dijk. I don't know. I think I'm still inclined to go with Virgil, but I'll leave it up to you.
Oh, don't do that. I'm going to go Virgil. I think Virgil is the shout there. I think it's a difficult one to decide, but I think Virgil has to come through. I think he's a brute of a man, and I know that Jamal isn't weak by any means, but I think VVD comes through on this one. And then last but not least, for the quarter-finals is what we're in. Everybody at home can tell I've had a couple of beers. Jack Stevens versus Kurt Zouma. Easy, surely.
Mr. Kurt Zouma has to go.
It's Kurt again. I've just seen that VVD versus Kurt Zouma is the semi-final. What I would give to watch that in real life. Oh my god.
Quality.
Right. Lewis Dunk versus Joel Ward. It's Dunky, isn't it?
I don't know how Joel Ward has scammed his way to a semi-final.
It's Lewis Dunk. I mean, to think about something like Norgard or Joe Worrell or Max Kilman or Jack Stevens, Vardy, all these people have gone out before Joel Ward.
Yeah, I tell you what, like I feel like Norgard going out in the round of 16. It's like having France versus England in the round of 16 or something.
It is.
Or France versus maybe not England because they've been pathetic, to be honest. But
Shush.
France versus
France
versus Spain or someone.
Stop talking.
Southgate in.
Southgate, you're the one. You're really not. And then for the other semi-final, I don't know, Virgil van Dijk versus Kurt Zouma. Whoever wins this wins the tournament.
This should almost be the final. Yeah.
Whoever wins this wins the tournament.
It essentially is, right? But I don't know. I still fancy, if you look at both of their faces, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to take Kurt Zouma seriously in some respects.
Yeah, but he kicks cat. It is. He kicks cats.
He's a bit of a mental geezer, isn't he? I still think. I don't know. I think
Virgil has had years.
Towards Virgil.
Virgil has had years in Liverpool though, but he kicks cats.
So, to be fair, so's Kurt Zouma. He spent a couple of years in Everton. So.
He did, and he kicks cats.
He kicks cats. Played at Stoke. Played at Stoke City. Played at West Ham.
And films it and doesn't care about that.
Yeah, I don't know. He still managed to make himself captain after kicking a bunch of cats. And, not a bunch of cats. He probably has. And it's
he probably has. Virgil is like a big muscly bloke. What are we? Is this really? Oh god. Virgil is a big muscly bloke.
Would he make it onto Daniel Trains?
Absolutely. Virgil, if you want, drop me a message, mate. Virgil is doing very, very well for himself in those areas, but does he have that killer instinct potentially that Kurt clearly does? Because
we've sort of seen it, haven't we? But I tell you what, one thing we haven't discussed is what many Twitter users would describe as Van Dijk's aura. Is would he
we
would
are
he
not
just
starting on aura.
No. But would he just sit off Kurt Zouma and let him attack like he does many a Premier League attackers? Would he just
That's a
not
shame.
tackle him? Would he just let Zouma he like the classic Muhammad Ali just dodging all the punches? I feel like that might be something Van Dijk does. But then, will he, because of his, he's not in his prime, I'd say now. He's still very good, of course. Maybe he just is a little bit slow to react and Zouma catches him.
I didn't even think of that, because could Kurt Zouma just go like, that new boxer who's just off the block who wants to come in and hit that first punch, he just can't, because he's just someone smart. But he kicks cats. He kicks cats.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. I feel like he's just going to come out all guns blazing, and it depends if Van Dijk can dodge those punches.
This is the most difficult decision of my life.
I know.
Kurt Zouma or Virgil van Dijk?
We might need another podcast for this one.
Kurt Zouma or Virgil van Dijk? This might be a singular YouTube short. Who would win in a scrap? Kurt Zouma or Virgil van Dijk?
I think final answer, we have to come to one now, and we can't use the number generator.
I can't get around that.
That's copping out.
I can't get around the fact that Kurt Zouma kicks cats. I think Van Dijk has got so much brains, but he hasn't ever shown malice like that. The most malice that's ever been shown to do with Van Dijk is when Pickford injured him.
Yeah, that is true.
Whereas Zouma...
but Van Dijk against Netherlands, against Argentina in the World Cup.
Yeah, but that's not the same as literally picking up a cat and half volleying it.
Yeah, but I mean, I could kick a cat.
You're not going to, though.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, it shows your... I don't think it shows, like... I think... what's his name? I think Bruno Fernandes probably kicks cats, to be honest. He feels like somebody would. So, I don't think it's... I think it shows the kind of character. I
think it's the kind of character to have that killer instinct.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't consider kicking cats a killer instinct. I can't lie. But I think honestly, it sounds like. Hold on, I've just went on Kurt Zouma's Wikipedia. His middle name is Happy.
His middle name.
His name is Kurt Happy Zouma. Kurt Happy Zouma.
Oh, they're pieces.
No word of like Kurt Happy Zouma.
Right, Virgil van Dijk wins then. Virgil van Dijk wins.
You can't win with a middle name called Happy.
Virgil van Dijk wins. Kurt Zouma has just lost in the final second
for
having a middle name called Happy. That is the single greatest piece of content. That is the single greatest piece of content I think I've ever made.
All right, so I think Kurt Zouma wins it then, right?
And then,
I don't think Lewis. Sorry, not Kurt Zouma. Van Dijk beats Lewis Dunk, sure.
Yeah, Van Dijk beats Lewis Dunk. It's like a France versus Croatia final of all those years back.
Yeah, for sure.
They won like 4-0, 4-1. And there we go, Virgil van Dijk. We think if it were to come down to it, and each Premier League captain were to have to battle to the death, you would be the greatest captain of them all. What have we just recorded?
Just quality.
That is absolutely incredible. Right, well, we are at the end of the podcast, and that has been simply sensational. Before we do leave, is there anything else you would like to promote or quickly re-promote the stuff you do with Christchurch?
To be honest, like I'm quite happy to keep that stuff away from when I'm jumping on the podcast. I am Liam the Arsenal fan. I much prefer that. And there is still plans for me to do stuff like that in the future. So if there is anywhere that I would want to be followed, go and check me out on Twitter, where I probably get a mix of 1 or 0 likes per tweet.
Your Twitter is gold.
At the Kiwi Gunner. So the Kiwi,
absolutely.
The New Zealand bird, of course, but also what we are called quite regularly. We're called Kiwi. So the Kiwi Gunner. Follow me on there, and I'd appreciate having more than 1 like per tweet.
There is. I've just looked. It's 1 like, 0 likes, 1 like. Yeah. But there is
some me waffling on there.
There is some complete and utter gold that goes out there sometimes. I do sit there and I go, this is hilarious. I love sometimes just the random Men are so serious. My brother's friend had an allergic reaction all over his skin, so they are now calling him Rashford. Just reposting that because he feels like it. What a lad. What a bloke. And it's been a pleasure having you on, as always, Liam. Thank you for your time. I know it's very early for you and it's very late for me. It's currently 25 to 12 here, and I am very ready for bed after all these beers. So thank you for coming on, mate, as always. And thank you everybody at home for listening. If any of you have made it to this point, fair play. I can't imagine any of you have. But it's been an honour as always. Thank you all for listening. And I'm back. So keep an eye on the channel for more content to come. And yeah, thank you all for watching and listening. And I'll catch you all again soon. See ya.